Welcome back to Season 3 of Build Beautiful. Before we begin, a word about the partner behind this season. Season 3 of Build Beautiful is supported by Tapetti, makers of fine handcrafted rugs and carpets, and our founding partner for this season. I have worked with Tapetti for years across my projects, so this is a relationship I already know and trust. Karina and her team have been true supporters of our industry and our practice, and I'm proud to have them alongside the show. You'll hear a little more from them across the season, always in my own words. But for now, I'm simply glad that they're here with us. Let's begin the season. I'm Linda Habak, and this is Build Beautiful, where design meets depth. Every beautiful thing you've ever loved was iterated into existence. The room that feels inevitable was the 31st sketch. The building that looks effortless was the 10th site visit. The studio you admire, the career you find yourself quietly studying, all of it was built by people willing to be wrong, many times on the way to excellence. My guest today has formalised that truth at scale most of us will never work at. And she's done it from behind the scenes, which is, as anyone who has ever run a studio or a business, where almost all the real work lives. Grace Miller is Head of Failure and Experimentation at FlightStory, Stephen Bartlett's media company behind his podcast, The Diary of a CEO. She left the Gold Coast for London, walked into a small podcasting office in January of 2022, and over the next 4 years helped quietly engineer its rise to become one of the largest podcasts in the world. Her job title is unusual on purpose. Her discipline is rigorous, and her philosophy that excellence is iterated into existence, that failing well is a craft, that the best work is the work you are willing to be wrong about first, is for me one of the most important ideas in creative practice right now. In this conversation, we talk about what it takes to build something iconic behind the scenes, about ambition in the shadow of a very bright founder, and about what moving to London did for her, and about what beauty looks like to a woman who has helped build something enormous. Grace Miller, welcome to Build Beautiful.
Thank you for having me. That was so nice.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
No, it's so exciting.
There's so much I want to say. First of all, it's been such a joy watching your sort of rise into this awareness, in socials. And truth be told, this podcast exists because I'm very inspired by what Diary of a CEO does, what Stephen does, the team does. I watch all of you. I read everything. I'm really curious. But he did a post in July of last year. It was a long essay on LinkedIn. And he said, the crux of it was that embarrassment is the price of entry. Mm-hmm. And that was truly the catalyst and the turning point for me. And I'd wanted to do this for so long. It was this burning desire. But I was in my own way, too embarrassed. And so the fact that he wrote that, that day I posted I was going to launch a podcast.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, and so you can take that back to him and tell him. So, but it's been really wonderful, like I said, to see that it's not just his star is rising.
Yeah.
All of you are growing together, and all of you are stepping into your own space in this and sharing your learnings, and I think it's amazing. So thank you for taking time.
No, I love when I hear that what Steve shares inspires other people to go and do things and achieve their dreams, or even start something that has been on their mind for a while. And I think that is maybe the coolest part of the job, is seeing other people change their lives for the better, not just consuming a podcast, but going and actually making a change in their life is, incredible.
And creating, right? And creating something. It's so inspiring. So you have probably the most unusual job title there is in modern media. When you tell somebody that you are the head of failure and experimentation, what reaction do you get?
Usually a laugh, and people think I'm joking.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking at all. And especially I think from more of an older generation, it's always like, oh, what does that do? Like, what do you mean? And I think when people assume failure, they think we just go out and intend to fail and all we want to do is fail, and it's not the point. What we want to do is test and learn. And then if failure happens along the way, that's okay because we're trying new things. And that's what really matters, is that we are always trying and learning.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll go into sort of deep dive into some research around failing, but failing in a psychologically safe place. And so there's some research around that, but we'll get to that. Let's take you back to the Gold Coast. So were you born and bred in the Gold Coast? I want to get a picture about who you are and, you know, obviously you're Australian and you're back in Australia for a period of time.
Yeah.
And I know you have been so busy.
Yes.
So, but take me back to where it all started. What was life in Queensland growing up? And
Yeah, I actually was born in England but moved here when I was 6.
Okay.
And so went to school and university and had my first jobs on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Like, I loved growing up there, the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful in Australia. And I learned a lot, I think. Like, I worked at a company called Queensland Airports in their marketing and social media team. And it was amazing to just absorb as much knowledge as I could from people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really helped me get the job in London, is because I had learnt so much and had the skills that other people applying didn't have.
Sure. And what were those skills?
It was mainly in paid media. So I'd learned a lot about, and email as well, email and paid media in my job here.
Right.
And no one applying had those skills. And they were like, perfect, you're filling a gap that we don't have.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it was really like, how many tools could I add to the toolkit to then allow me to have the different experience that makes you almost unique to the team and the role. And yeah, I don't regret that at all, because it allowed me to get the job in London. So it was the best experience growing up.
What cultures or personality traits did you have here that you took across with you, and did they serve you well? You know, obviously being ingrained in that sort of Australian culture, it's a very down to earth, very human, very, you know, we're very connected.
Yeah.
Do you think that served you well when you moved over to London?
Oh, definitely. I think probably the two main things were personality, being open and friendly and bubbly, because a lot of English people, I can say because I'm an English
also
and Australian,
English.
but a lot of English people are slightly more reserved or blunt, not in a rude way, just that's the personality.
Absolutely,
And bringing like a different vibe and culture to the team definitely helped. And then I also think Australians are really hardworking.
Yes.
And we have a lot of Aussies and Kiwis in our team now in London.
That's amazing.
And they are amazingly hardworking and talented. And I think it's the culture of being raised here, and you have I think amazing lifestyle of like work hard, but then also go down to the beach, have a good life and relax.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we have some really good talent from this side of the world over there.
Oh, that's amazing. Was there anything you were afraid of before you went to London? Like any part of you that you had to shed in order to go to London? Yeah,
I think it's not afraid, but actually the hardest part is like, as an adult, how do you make friends when you're in a new country and don't know anyone? But the other side of it was getting out of the culture of kind of like smaller thinking. And like, you're in a massive capital city of the world in London, and you realize nothing really matters. Like when I was on the Gold Coast, it was, who's friends with who, or what's happening in their life, and very like small town.
It's insular.
Yeah. And then going to London, I'm like, wow, really, it's just go and achieve your dreams and see what happens in the world. And
so it sounds like you kind of shed this layer of insecurity almost, or self-doubt.
Yeah.
Because I do think in Australia, and I'm turning 50 this year, so I
you
know
don't
all
look
about
it at all.
Thank you. But I think we kind of have a bit of a tall poppy syndrome, and we're almost a bit afraid to stand up and stand out and be different. And I know certainly for me, even starting the podcast, I just felt really I had to do so much inner work to kind of just put all of those negative thoughts aside to be able to step up and go, I really want to do this, and I almost have to not care what it looks like. And embarrassment is the price of entry 100%. And you just have to push through. And so I think being in a big city where you don't know a lot of people, it's so much easier to do that, right?
Oh, definitely. And you forget what people are thinking when you're not surrounded by them every day. So it doesn't matter when you're in the big city, you can go and do these things and try, and even if you post it on social media, you're not hearing what people are saying.
That's right.
Whereas it's funny, every single person I met here has mentioned tall poppy syndrome.
Really?
Which is scary, because obviously it's how people feel here.
Yeah, and it's sad because I think I have this idea, I have this thought that I don't talk about a lot. I mean, I talk with certain friends that I trust, but, you know, in a wider forum, I don't talk about it because I'm almost too embarrassed to say it.
Yeah.
But I'm in the pursuit of finding my greatness.
Yeah,
and to be able to say that and not feel embarrassed is, and now I've said it, like on a podcast, it's good.
Love it.
But I feel like, but I want everyone to feel that, and I want everyone to go on this journey. And that's the thing that I keep coming back to you and the team and Stephen.
Yeah.
You're all in the pursuit of finding your greatness as individuals and then as a culture and as a business.
Yeah.
And it's such a joy to see that because it gives others permission.
Yes.
And we don't have a lot of great examples, I think, here.
No, which is sad.
Sad, exactly.
It really is sad, and I wish that culture changed. Of like, I love that line of pursuit of finding your greatness because it's so true. Like we, some of the team, we were out in LA the other week, and we were just driving past some really nice houses, and it was like, wow, would love to live there one day. And I was like, but why can't we?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Is there a cap on what people think they can achieve?
Yeah.
And I think it shows even more in Australia, which is really sad. If people think they can't go and get that or achieve those things, it's like, but why? Like, why shouldn't you?
It's hard not to care though, right? It's hard. And how do you push through that boundary? How do you push through? Because I want to relate it back actually to the audience that listens to this, designers and architects that listen and creative entrepreneurs. And they're all running amazing practices. But the biggest issue they have for many of them is putting themselves out there. And we're in a time of the creator economy, the attention economy. So what advice can you give them, having worked on one of the biggest podcasts in the world, but also not just the biggest podcast, but Stephen really is a huge personality. And so what are the learnings that you take for yourself, but that you could give others that you see?
Yeah, I think content creation is the biggest unfair advantage right now. And it shows, like, people who are creating content, growing audiences, are getting better opportunities for their business. They are getting opportunities that they wouldn't have got previously, no, like, because they didn't post content, and also making way more money or way more success for themselves because they put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And whether you're a business owner or wanting to be a content creator, I think social media and content in general is almost a free marketing tool where, even though I said I'm interested in paid marketing, organic is free.
Yeah.
All you have to do is create the content. And I know it's really hard when you're like, oh, my friend down the road is going to judge me and see that. But maybe they'll judge for 6 months. And then when you've got followers or success, they'll go, oh, how did you do that? Can you teach me?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so interesting that the script flips when you're successful, but people want to pull you down when you're starting is really sad.
Yeah.
And I'm starting my social media journey, and I'm sure people are like, oh, that's so narcissistic. She posts on there. And I'm like, I am the least narcissistic person
I know, exactly.
ever. But I want to post because, number one, I love the creative outlet.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in creative industries,
Yes.
they're obviously creative in their work, but how do you also express creativity in other areas of yourself?
Absolutely.
And content creation is a perfect example of that, let alone all the unfair advantages of being able to, like, promote your business or even getting opportunities for that.
My question to you is, what's the advice around doing it in a way that feels authentic and real and true to who you are? Because I see, you know, I've watched your sort of journey, and when you posted on LinkedIn, you're coming to Australia. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I think you would say, yes, I'll be on your podcast. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's this you're so human, you're so down to earth, you're so real. And the person that I see in the socials is the person sitting here in front of me. So what advice do you give people? You can still be you can still share who you are.
Yeah.
And be real and do it in a way that you're not losing yourself along the way?
I think it's because I started at the right time. Like, I didn't start when I started working at DOAC.
Yeah.
I only started posting on Instagram the end of last year, start of this year. And that's 4 years into the role. Like, I didn't post because I felt I had to. I posted because I actually wanted to at that time. And that's probably why it's more authentic, whereas you can tell when someone's going, oh, I have to post on LinkedIn or whatever to get followers or to grow my business. And it's like, no, you should want to post. And if you don't want to post, that's okay. Like, and you're right, the authenticity shows.
It really does.
And I think a lot of people, especially content creation is very different right now to what it was. Like a lot of the YouTubers or creators that started out, a lot of them are introverts, and you meet them in person, you're like, whoa, you're not the same person I see online.
Yeah, right.
Which is interesting because that was kind of a different world back then, where all of the introverts started YouTube channels, looked like extroverts on the channel, and then you meet them in person and they're completely different. Whereas now, a lot of the creators are the same, and it's more, I would say, people who had normal jobs now going into content creation, not people who were almost like the computer nerds before. Which is nice. So I think the authenticity is just starting at the right time.
Yeah.
When
you feel ready.
Actually want to, and then it feels genuine. And the amount of like creative buzzing ideas I have now in my mind.
That's amazing.
From just being so passionate and wanting to share all the different things I'm working on or having chats about. Is where the authenticity comes through.
That's the point of the conversation, is we've got to get out of our own heads, get out of our own way, and we've got to try, and it's okay. But if we all as a culture, as a group of people kind of go, we're just going to support each other to be out there and be the best version of ourselves, we're all benefiting from that.
Oh, exactly. And like also the learnings and knowledge can apply across every industry. Like I was in the aviation industry before this, and now I'm in media and podcasting. Like you would think there's hardly any alignments, but there's so much that transfers between different industries. And like when I do talks or podcasts, the talks can be like for a healthcare company to creatives to solopreneurs. And so it's really every area that can learn from things like that, which is important.
Totally. All transferable skills. Tell me in your own words, when you get to work on Monday, like what does failure look like, or testing and failure look like in your job on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's all about, a mix. Like we run experiments with the team, and then we also run experiments ourselves as the experimentation and failure team. But the idea is that we want everyone to be trying new things within the role. So how do we make sure the production looks different every time, whether we're trying a 1% or an experiment? Or the trailers, like you'll see all different things change within the DOAC or FlightStory show trailers. And it's kind of every area, how do we continually improve? Because the idea is like if we were to just do the same thing every day or every week, we would never grow. And so really, how do we make sure that we're actually putting in effort to try new things so that we actually are then growing every day or every week or every month?
Almost like this idea of getting 1% better every day. It's
And it's like you can continue to do the same thing and that's fine. But you're not going to grow at the same rate. And so how do we do that? And that's kind of the goal of like my role in my team is how do we actually make sure the company is doing that and it is embedded in the culture.
Okay, I want you to take me back to the first day of DOAC. You've walked into FlightStory. Was it FlightStory then, or did it become Flight? Because it was Diary of a CEO and then became FlightStory. So what was day one like? And could you have known then on day one what the juggernaut that you were actually on and that what it would be like 4 years later?
When I walked in, there was only a table of people. That's how small it was. We were all around one table and you could chat and hear each other from every area. Compared to now, we have over 120 people in a multi-story office to give perspective of like where it started and where it is now. It was just the Diary of a CEO and Steve's personal brand. There was kind of one person in each team, if that. Some people were working across multiple teams. But that was the best part, is it was, let's start this and see what happens. And I don't think any of us dreamed where it would go because you just can't see it. Like I think you can, maybe Steve had the dream and ambition of where it would go.
He showed a graph recently on a podcast, that graph of YouTube where it just did nothing, and then it just kicked. And there's so much learning and it's so inspiring actually but there's two parts to that for me. It's inspiring, great, but it's the fact that it is that consistency. He talks about it a lot, and I imagine that distills down to the whole team because he's all about culture. So what have you learnt yourself from working in that environment? And has that become part of your DNA, or did you already have those that temperament already?
One of the biggest things is high agency people. So how do we move fast and try things? And I think that's why that no success or actually
Or
not
just
no success, no
It
growth
was just,
for
you know,
so
small
long.
growth. Like it's
Yeah,
just plodding
but
along
it's-
and then just exploded.
And most people would have quit when maybe
Yes.
after 2 years of not that much growth. Whereas that's where the real growth happens, is when you're consistent for so long that it then catapults.
Yes.
And it is really that we were just willing to try things and try them now. We didn't sit and wait for a year or even months thinking about an idea. It was like, okay, we have an idea to do this sort of podcast or change the set to this. Let's do it right now.
Just test.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And see if it works,
yeah.
because if we're going to test it now, at least we can learn faster instead of thinking about it for a month, then going, okay, how do we do that? Then another month passes and then we're testing it and then we're learning in month 3. Rather, if we tested it now, we could learn by the end of the week.
Yeah. It's like learn fast, fail fast, and everyone's on the same page with it. And you can see it. I mean, and that's the conversation that you hear Stephen talk about, building that culture, and it's so evident in everyone that I follow from FlightStory now. It's a really sort of strong theme that comes through, which is amazing. I want to take a moment to come back to our founding partner for the season, Tapeti. If you don't know them, Tapeti makes handcrafted rugs and carpets for residential and commercial interiors, and I've worked with them for years through my own studio. What I love is that their work never feels like an afterthought. A rug can ground a room, soften hard architecture, bring warmth underfoot, and give a space the sense of calm and completeness we're always chasing. But it's more than a product. Behind Tapeti is Karina Gobo, who has built a business around craft, quality, and genuine relationships. And that is exactly why this partnership sits so naturally with Build Beautiful. It means a great deal to have a brand I know, use, and admire alongside the show this season. For more details or to connect with Tapeti, I'll leave their details in the show notes below. Now back to the episode. I want to deep dive into failure.
Yes.
I want to share some research, which you probably already know about, but I was sort of kind of trying to understand some science or some research around failure. And there was a study that was done from Harvard Business Review. Yes. So Amy Edmondson.
Yes, I love her.
Yeah.
I've read her book so many times.
Okay,
and I recommend it.
So for the purpose of the audience listening, her research, and this is just a Cliff Notes version, but she found that 70 to 90% of organisational failures are treated as blameworthy, even though only 2 to 5% actually result from negligence or misconduct. Her whole body of work flips the switch on it and reframes it. So the goal isn't to avoid the failure, but it's to fail well. But you can only do that in a psychologically safe environment. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about that, because when I read that bit of research, and I read a few different things, but I saw that and I'm like, that's FlightStory. That's DOAC. That's DOAC in personified in real life. So Can you talk to me about that research and how it applies to how you do your job? And I'd love to kind of deep dive what the daily practice looks like and what the research and the metrics that you're analysing look like.
Amy's book is actually the first book I read on failure.
Really?
I would love to meet her one day. She's so incredible. I'm like looking up courses that she does to try and somehow meet her and learn from her, because her book on failure is about like how the best teams use failure to succeed. And all of it is so true, and that's what I learned and was able to like help implement in the role, even though a lot of it already stood within the company before. But when I moved to like start the experimentation and failure team, I was like, okay, I need to learn as much as I can about how do you fail well. And also that psychological safety piece of how do you encourage failure so people in a company don't go, oh, I'm going to lose my job if I admit I failed or something went wrong. And when we have new starters, I have like a new starter deck I present. And it's all about that. Like there's a whole slide on, multiple slides on psychological safety, and it's saying like you won't lose your job if you fail. It's actually encouraged to go and try new things. And I love her work because she also defines like the different types of failure. And there's like basic, complex, and intelligent failures. And basic is like an accident. Say I was to smash a glass on the floor, which is a failure and not the ones we want to have. Whereas an intelligent failure is where we're like setting an experiment and parameters, and you have a hypothesis, and you're really going out and saying like, what is the potential of the experiment. And if it fails, that's okay, because I know those are the parameters and that would be my loss.
But are you going into that experiment, would you do it if there was no potential success? As in, you want to test something, you know that there's a greater potential that it'll fail, but you need to test it anyway. Will you go ahead with it, even if the reward isn't as great?
I think it depends. Like, all of our experiments now aligned to like company KPIs.
Right.
So at the start, when we started experimenting, it was like, okay, let's try everything and see what works.
Sure.
Kind
so
of
there
like
was
that.
no framework around it. You were just testing.
And that was like a failure in itself, because we then went back and had so many experiments, so much knowledge, but how did it all combine?
You distill it, yeah.
And for like a KPI now, it's so, okay, say we want to grow YouTube subscribers.
Right.
How does every experiment align to that goal? And are we learning something from it that's going to help us get to that goal faster? And so really I would advise any experiment you run has to be towards a goal, whether it is a metric, or I also see learning as a goal. So it could be like, I'm going to learn more about how the YouTube algorithm works. Or I'm going to learn more about how these consumers want to purchase, or even how they perceive my brand.
Sure.
And so I think what it really needs is that like idea behind it first of what do you want to achieve.
The hypothesis is what you, Is there space for intuition or taste, or like, do you have a situation where you're looking at head and heart, or is it really always about the metrics and the science? I'm just trying to understand,
Perfect example is, do you follow brand guidelines or do you not follow brand guidelines?
Sure.
Because I think that's a great one of like, do you go down the creative route or do you go down the science route? And it depends on the situation, I think. Like, we always back up everything with data. So happy to go down the brand if that's what wins on the data. But at the end of the day, we want data to win, and that is how you're going to grow. You're not going to grow because an asset looks pretty. You're going to grow because you're using the best asset for the performance of your brand, whether that is on email or marketing. It's like, we know the data wins, and the data doesn't lie.
I always say that the metrics don't lie.
No,
the data doesn't lie.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is like, brand is amazing and you stand out and people know you for that. But at the end of the day, you could have a really pretty brand and absolutely no one buying. Yeah. So what really matters...
Or no one listening, or no one following.
Exactly. And I think Dark is a perfect example of that. Is, does it really have a brand? It doesn't really have a brand guideline. Like, you could see a clip and you know it's familiar because of the background of the guest or Steve. But it doesn't have a brand guideline. Like, not every font is the same because we experiment with that. Not every style of clip is the same. So really, we're open to testing things, and we won't always go down the brand route. We will like really play into the data and what works and what actually succeeds.
Yeah. It's really interesting because for me, doing this podcast, it really is a whole new world of metrics and data. And I shared with you, I used to be a media buyer 100 years ago. So I know what data is, because, we wouldn't buy a piece of media unless it was justified. And now our metrics and our data is so much greater. Yeah. But it is a whole learning, and it is hard to stay across. There is so much data, and the challenge of distilling all of that down and understanding it and then creating assessments around it. So I think it's really interesting hearing you talk about it. And I know that, Stephen talks about it in the media as well, but it's great to kind of hear what the framework is around it. And I think that can be applied to a lot of different industries, not just to podcasting or social media.
I think it's important as well, like, when you, especially as like a solopreneur or a small team, it's like, how do you make sure you're watching all of the data and how it works and learning from it? I think AI is the best thing for that now. Is there's so many tools you can build or tools you can even buy to help you do that. So if, like, my brother has a social media agency and he was a solopreneur for a little while and he has a team now, but he was trying to do it all himself, and he used AI to build those tools to help be able to start that up. And then he was able to hire a team when he had the money. Yeah. But it's really that startup of like, how do you get the like AI to help you? And with the analytics, it's perfect. It can send you every day, like, here's how your podcast is performing, here's what I would change. And you don't have to listen to it, but at least it's there to give you that knowledge.
And it's awareness.
Yeah, and it saves you the time of trying to go in and go, where do I look in the YouTube back end? It's looking for you, it's pulling that information.
And it's summarizing it. Yeah. You've just inspired me. I'm going to go and build an app.
And it's really easy, like, to use Claude and build something just to plug into YouTube or any of the platforms. platforms and wherever you are, whether it's your email list or
Yeah.
to then go and pull that data and say like, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have people going and trying to like spend time doing it, like take all the admin work away and make it as seamless as possible for you.
I know that DOAC or FlightStory have got their own proprietary data systems, Guest Radar, Creator Radar, FlightX, which I assume were built in-house, I assume, or you've worked with someone. How are you finding those systems now in the face of AI? I imagine AI has helped build those, but you could build those, like anyone can build those things now.
Yeah.
How much are you using AI as an organisation and as an individual?
Yeah, a lot. Like we had an AI competition last year.
Really?
That was really fun because we were just challenged to go and see what can you build with AI. And I'd never really touched it. I'd gone on ChatGPT, but that was about it.
Yeah.
And I challenged myself. I was like, okay, let's try build an app and see what happens. And it was an app to post on TikTok.
Right.
And it worked. And it was a challenge. I was getting so frustrated of error, like maybe like 10,000 times.
Yeah.
But then when it worked, I was like, wow, that was so challenging but amazing because you're gaining knowledge.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I think that's what we're doing now again. So we have another AI competition, and it's how can we build more and almost take the admin work out of our jobs so that I can then spend my time doing all other amazing things.
Yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with Claude co-work. I tried Claude Code and I failed, but I'm going to try again. But it's amazing because even there's so much prep that goes into, I think people don't understand how much work a podcast takes.
Yes.
And I now understand the statistic of like most podcasts don't get past their third episode because it's a lot of work and it's expensive to produce. But every time I have an administrative problem, I now will go to Claude Co-work and try and work out a solution where I can minimize the time so I can focus on the things that actually really add value.
I love that.
So I'm obsessed.
But also, why not? Like, why shouldn't people be able to do that? And
That's right.
Especially when you're starting out a podcast, like being able to have that support where you can't get that area of support is, amazing.
Amazing. I'm interested too in FlightStory because obviously it all started with DOAC and now the stable of podcasts are growing and, you know, they're sponsoring or supporting different creators and different podcasters. They recently invested in Hot Smart Rich and Maggie is like amazing. She's such a boss.
Yeah.
But not getting into specifics, but what is Flightcast looking, when they're backing a podcast, what separates a show worth investing from a show that's just popular? Like what is that magic sawdust that they're looking at?
Yeah, there's a lot of, talking about data, there's a lot that it goes into. So before a show's even signed or even consider speaking with, they collate all their data from it and put it into a tool.
Yeah.
And it goes through and like ranks different areas. So whether there's a market for that audience, whether is the market oversaturated already, or is there a big area and gap missing in that? Or how big is the audience around the world? Is it all based in one place or is it based worldwide? And that's just like 2 out of so many different criteria that it goes through. And I think the coolest part is like there's so many shows you can invest in. So how do you choose? And it's also understanding like the slate that you have and do they align or do they overlap? And I think like an example is like Unwell Network with Alex Cooper. From an outsider's perspective, all of the podcasts she signed were, I would say, female Gen Z, which would seem contradictory because how many podcasts as a female Gen Z can you consume? And say she had 10 signed. Like, are they all competing against each other? Whereas with FlightStory, all of them have very unique and different audiences. Like Davina McCall's audience with Begin Again is,
I love it.
She's so amazing. But it's a very different audience to who consumes polls or versus Kristen's that's more like sports. And so I think it's really interesting of like how we've tailored that.
And that's why Build Beautiful exists because for architects, designers, creative entrepreneurs, we see the work. It's all beautiful. We see it in the magazines. We see it online. We know the work is good, but we don't always get an opportunity to actually meet the person creating, the person thinking. And that's ultimately the point of the podcast is, you know, to connect with these people, to get to know them, to pull back the layers, to understand how they think. And that's the connection that, inspires me. It's actually getting to know the person behind the work. And ultimately, it's these brilliant minds that are just so exceptional. And it's not just about the success of the work or the success of that project. It's all of the little failures, the challenges, the pivots, the difficulties. Some of the people I talk to have been in business for 20, 30 years, and they've all had hard times, and we learn more through the hard time, the challenging time, than we do through the success.
Yeah. I love that though as well, because it's not even just in the architecture and creative industry. It's like every industry you want to see the people behind it. Like I love, for example, Road, seeing the team behind Road, not just Hailey Bieber. I want to know, how do they work? Where did they come from? What was their knowledge and skills to get there? And like, then what do they do in their jobs? And I love there's a girl called Angelina from YouTube in LA, and she posts like what it's like to work at YouTube. And I think it's so interesting because you see behind the scenes of what is the industry and work like for someone.
That's right.
And it's in every industry. Like it doesn't just...
and I think we need to be more real about it. I think we need to not be afraid to actually show all of it, the warts and all, not just the good bits. And that's why, bringing it back to Stephen, he does that a lot with behind the diary. I mean, you just get to see like the days where he is working till 3 a.m. and he's exhausted, and he talks about the cost of success, because there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off in everything we do. Yeah. What were the things that you were doing that led you to be the head of that division? Clearly there was a spark in you. Clearly there was something you were doing that kind of highlighted you as being the person to lead this. So I want to get into, what was it specifically about you that was it sort of a collaborative discussion, or was it Stephen tapping you on the shoulder and saying, you're doing an amazing job, I want you to lead this?
It was the tapping on the shoulder. I was like, hey, come over here, can we have a chat? And I actually need to ask Steve properly why he asked me, because I still don't know. But my two guesses to this day are, the first one was when I used to do our paid media, every week I would say like, this is who we're targeting, this is what happened, here's what we're changing for next week, and like was naturally sharing, almost experimenting without realizing it was experimenting. So I was already doing it before I even changed roles. Then the second side, I think, was the Australian almost personality of not really caring what people think. So if it failed, I wasn't going to go and be that person who cries in the corner that it didn't work. It was like, okay, it didn't fail, let's do the next thing. Yeah. And that mentality of just like going and doing something else and moving on rather than dwelling in that moment. And I think they're probably the two reasons why he was like, actually, do you want to do this? And I think that's probably why it worked so well, is everyone kind of knew I was there to help grow. I wasn't there to help tell them what to do in their jobs or anything. And that's probably why it's been a success so far.
Yeah, amazing. So you work closely with one of the most visible personalities. So you're in this orbit. What have you learned about ambition, spending time in Stephen's orbit, and not just Stephen, but others as well? I guess I'm trying to understand, what do you agree with and what do you reject?
I think the people who are successful are the most hardworking people in the world. And it's not in the sense of I'm physical hard work. It's like mental hard work of always on the go. Like they never switch off. Steve never switches off. He's always on, which is amazing because you love it. And for the right people, it's the right thing to do. Yeah. Other people want work-life balance, which is fine. But I think with work-life balance, a very controversial opinion, but with work-life balance, I don't think you can also achieve the success like that. I think it's one or the other, and you truly like actually have to make sacrifices. Yeah. Because with all the successful people I've seen, not just Steve, they definitely have made sacrifices to get to where they are. And I thought Steve was the most hardworking person in the world. And then he met Mr. Beast, and he was like, I've never heard Steve say this before, but he was like, he was a different level of hard work to Steve. Wow. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Because I know what Steve's like. So
and you can't imagine
it. Yeah. If he thought Jimmy was on a different level, like that is just, I cannot even fathom what he's like, which is amazing because he is now one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. So he deserves that success for the hard work. Yeah. But I think sometimes society can be like, don't burn out, don't work hard. And it's like, well, that's fine. Yeah, but
it's an individual choice. Yeah.
And like you aren't going to achieve that success of being the top of an industry if you don't work hard. And it's a sad truth. Yeah. And I know people will get angry at that, but really, like, if you want to be at the top of an industry, you have to work really hard.
There's just no way around it.
No. Yeah.
So my question to you is, did you have an example of that personality type here in Australia?
I did in my dad, which is it, but in worldwide in Australia, not as much.
No, but in your environment, in your world, you're a family member or a relative or someone in the workplace. Like, was there someone that was an example of ambition, success?
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, is I often think that you attract those environments, and I wonder if you subconsciously attracted that environment for yourself in this work environment.
Yeah,
with
definitely
Steve.
my dad, because he's been an entrepreneur my whole life. He's always had his own business. But also he's failed a lot because he was in the travel industry.
Sure.
And when the global financial crisis happened and even 9/11, like it really, everything affects the travel industry. It's not a great industry. It's amazing and also not amazing.
And also not amazing, exactly.
But he's had, like, his business failed and he had to restart again. And so I've seen that kind of like dedication and passion. I always remember my dad used to say, like, lay out your clothes the night before, put out your socks, your shoes, everything. And I just thought, why? I was like, why do I have to lay out my clothes? Like, it's annoying. I'll do it in the morning. And really, he was setting me up for the next day. So I didn't have to think about that the next day. I'd already kind of like done something for my future self. And at the time I was like, this is so annoying. But now I'm like, wow, that is a trait that's so important, is to do the hard thing now rather than thinking about it later.
I love that.
And so, yeah, I'm so grateful that I had parents that were really ambitious and hardworking and had really high standards. Is a good and a bad thing, because I definitely have those high standards. But yeah, I think was amazing to then be able to have that and then expected it from another role. But I think in terms of like manifesting the job, I think that actually came from like being inspired by Steve and his social media company.
Yeah.
And my old colleagues at the airport, they always still talk about it now. They're like, you used to send us the podcast episodes. Like, I would listen to one and be like, guys, you should listen to this, because I wanted everyone to develop and grow. And it's funny because they go like, that's insane, because I never would have dreamed. Like, I wasn't moving to England.
If you could give yourself any advice back to when you started, what would it be, given everything you've learned over the last 4 years?
I think to make the most of every moment more, because when you're in it, you're like, let's do this, let's achieve. And now I'm like, wow, I wish I could go back to that first year and just soak it in even more and be like, wow, we used to sit there and listen to every episode, and we had to sit behind the scenes dead silent because we couldn't make noise while the episode was on. Or even like when we would be at round tables, like we would sit around the table after the episode and all chat about what happened and discuss how we could grow it. And like those really early days, whether that's more rare now to even be in a recording.
Yeah, of course.
And so I think that's so special, is the early days of something, even though it's hard, that's where like the actual magic is. And I think not knowing what the future holds is even better. Yeah. Like, we didn't know it would have 15 million subscribers within 4 years. Like, you just can't predict it. And I think that's the nicest part, is the naivety of not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then being able to just be like, actually, let's see what happens and achieve it.
It's so inspiring. I want to cry.
But it's exciting because I can't wait to see your podcast in a few years and what happens.
I hope so. It is really interesting because when I told a couple of people within sort of podcasting world, a producer, and I had a call with a podcasting expert. She actually runs Nova Podcasting. And both of them said, it's slow. It's slow. It's going to take you 2 years. It's 2 years minimum, and we're only 9 months in. Yeah. And I'm like, systems go, we can do it. But you then realize that it is the small details. It is showing up every day. It's doing the work every day. It's getting the best production team you can. It's getting the best equipment that you can, and doing it all and self-funding it and just having faith and trust that it's all, even when you just have no idea. I do not know where the road is going. It is not clear at all. But I just have to trust that it's one foot in front of the other. Yeah, and it's good you have the long-term mindset though, because I think a lot of people come into podcasting going, I'm going to start a podcast and expect to get even 100 views on the first episode. And maybe the first episode will, but maybe the second or third won't. And then they're like, oh my God, I only got 10 views. Which, let's be honest, 10 people in a room is a lot of people. Yeah, so that's right. To anyone listening, I'm like always amazed that anyone is listening. And that's why I'm really cognizant of someone's time. If they're going to give us 45 minutes to an hour, then I really want them to be inspired or educated or learn something or feel something, because that's precious time you can't get back. So then I really now think about, maybe first season I didn't know what I didn't know, but now that I know, it's like, right, we have to make this I have to do the research to get the best out of the guest, to highlight the guest because it's their story. But how do I do that? How do I make that a better experience for everybody?
Yeah.
Not just the person in the room, but the person listening or watching. And
it's amazing to see the growth, even if it's small growth at the start, like
Yeah.
seeing people or the like engagement and responses like that, I think is even more powerful.
Yeah.
Because podcast is community building. Podcast
Yeah.
is not mass reach. It is, you're building a core community that are willing to dedicate an hour of their time, which is massive. Like
massive.
And the content, everyone's talking about content minutes, but content minutes are so important. So the more time someone spends with you, the
Yeah.
more dedicated they'll be, and they'll become a part of your community rather than just a follower.
Yeah.
And that's so important with podcasting or YouTube is I'm willing to give you an hour of my time. It's
Totally.
way more than me giving you 30 seconds on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so how do we create more content minutes with people?
Yeah, absolutely. I could speak to you all day. I'm very conscious of your time. I have lots of other questions, but I feel like we've just unpacked so much here. We ask every guest our signature question. We end off with, what does Build Beautiful mean to you?
I actually think Build Beautiful means what we talked about before of supporting other people to win and like building people around you up rather than just building yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the best thing, like not knowing where and how you will build someone up, but knowing that you're supporting them growing. And that means more to me than just growing myself. So yeah, supporting other people around me is...
I love it. Thank you. It's like, it's the purpose of Build Beautiful, actually,
Yeah.
the podcast. So thank you. Grace Miller, I have loved this conversation. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you. And say hi to Stephen for me.
I'll probably watch this. So thank you,
I
Linda.
hope so.
It's so good.
Thank you for listening to Build Beautiful. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone who's building something meaningful. It matters more than you know. Follow us on Instagram at Build Beautiful Podcast. Until next time, keep creating with intention, and together we build beautiful.